Welcome to the latest installment of the Sharp Best Ball Show Live Draft Edition. I am your host, Tod Burros, at Best Ball NFL, and this month we are doing a live draft with Howard Bender of SiriusXM, Fantasy Alarm, and now the Sharp Best Ball Show. And we will be doing a live Underdog Ball Mania 4 draft and trying to take down the first prize. And speaking of Underdog Fantasy, this show is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy and the biggest fantasy football tournament of all time, Ball Mania 4. Don't know what Best Ball is? It's simple. You just enter Ball Mania on Underdog's slick mobile app, draft your team, and that's it. Yep, it's set it and forget it, as Underdog optimizes your lineup weekly to create the highest scoring one. It's here, it's Ball Mania 4, and it's your shot at a first place prize of $3 million. And that's what Howard and I are going for. So if you want to try and take it and rip it from our hands, get signed up on UnderdogFantasy.com or via the App Store and use the promo code SharpKit. And they'll not only double your first deposit up to $100, but you'll also receive the Sharp Football Draft Kit for just $1. That includes over 40 exclusive fantasy football articles, which will greatly help your chances at winning the $3 million grand prize. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code SharpKit. And now let's bring in Howard. Howard, how are you today?
Hey, Todd, how's it going, man? Thank you so much for having me. I love it, man. Get to work with you here and taking down a best ball championship. Nothing would be sweeter than us getting to split this dough.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, we can afford quite the roto buzz.
Oh, yes, we could. I see what you did there, my friend. You are the king of dad jokes, aren't you?
I mean, that's what I've been known for, but I'm always open to someone stealing that crown from me, Howard. Tell me a little bit about the name Roto Buzz Guy, how you came up with it, and a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, let's see. I'm a born and raised New Yorker. I'm living out here in Northern California now.
Where in New York you from?
Oh, how you doing? So I grew up 108 in Lex, right in the southern part of Spanish
East
Harlem. Yep. Just north of Yorkville. My grandparents, actually, my mom's parents, were down on 80th and York. So I actually ended up going to school down over by them at PS1 over in 79th Street. So that was where I started. And then, I spent most of my time in New York. My wife and I, a couple of deadheads, had the mothership calling us home and dragged us out here to San Francisco, and we've been in the Bay Area since that. And listen, it's been absolutely fantastic. It took me to all this time to live out in California to finally land a job with the New York Post. I do some fantasy columns for baseball and football for them. I'm all over the place at Fantasy Alarm, and I do a show with former general manager Jim Bowden. Every Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio.
The Reds, right?
What's that?
He was the GM of the Reds, right?
He was the GM of the Reds and then the GM of the Nationals, yeah.
Yeah, so, all right. So we overlap in a couple different ways. The first way is I'm from northern New Jersey, but I spent the 80s in New York. I was a carpet installer and pretty much a deadbeat before I got my act together. And then I got into the luggage business, and I actually worked from a company that was based in Half Moon Bay, California.
Which is where I live right now.
Right. And I noticed that in your bio. That's where Briggs and Riley got started. And I worked there probably, I think it was from 95 to 98. How's the Seal Cove Inn?
I have not been to the Seal Cove Inn, actually.
Now, the first time I ever ate sushi, what's the name of the really good sushi place in Half Moon Bay?
I wish I could tell you that too. Unfortunately, how about this one here? I'm allergic to shellfish.
Oh my God.
So I don't eat any seafood at all. I think I was 9 when they came at me with the EpiPen the first time. Parents were like, "Here, try these baked clams. You'll love them." And so I ended up, it was so bad and so sudden that they ended up having to take that EpiPen and jam it into my chest like Pulp Fiction style. And so since then, I have not touched a single piece of seafood at all. So no sushi, no seafood for me, hence no Seal Cove Inn, and couldn't tell you the nearest sushi place out here in Half Moon Bay.
That's wild. All right. So enough about that. Although I will say that ride over the mountain, the first time I did it from the San Francisco side to past where they have, I think it's the Pumpkin Festival or something.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, I just think that's like the most beautiful country. First time I did it, I felt like I was in Jurassic Park or something. It's so different from, the New York East Coast experience.
Oh yeah. I mean, you look at like growing up in New York City, and you know the street fairs in New York, and they're great, they're fun, they're a lot of fun to walk through. Out here in Half Moon Bay, I mean, it's just everything, because it's spread out more. But driving down the Pacific Coast Highway, Farmer John's pumpkin patch sitting right over there. He happens to be my neighbor now, so I always like to give him a little shout out there. He once was the mayor of Half Moon Bay. That's what kind of small town living I'm doing over here right now. But listen, I love it, but I got to be honest with you, Todd. I miss New York. I really, really miss New York. I'm a diehard Jets fan, so I know you're a Giants guy, but
I always grew up I was 7 years old, and the Jets were in the. I actually remember 1968 a little bit. And, the Jets were in the AFL, and my dad was one of those guys who was like, if it's a New York team, we root for them. So I've always liked the Jets too, up until about Rex Ryan. And I found it really hard but I rooted for them, during the Mark Sanchez. And I think, the Jets are going to have a good year this year.
I feel like the Jets are going to have a good year this year. I'm excited for it. I mean, obviously last year we had a strong team and we were a quarterback away. We got the quarterback right now. We'll see. I don't think Rodgers needs to be vintage Aaron Rodgers for us to do well. I personally don't think he's the guy to take us over over that top part. I don't know if he's got another Super Bowl run in him, but as far as, helping build the team around him, I think that the Jets are moving in a really nice direction.
Yeah, I love Garrett Wilson in fantasy this year. I've got him in the top 10 or 11 picks. So that allows me to really get enough to get, I'd like to get to 2X on him doing best ball, because I think the kid is a really good player, a really good talent. And one thing we found out about Aaron Rodgers is he really focuses on the guys he can trust. And I know that Randall Cobb's there and Alan Lazard is there, supposedly guys he can trust, but those guys really can't get open like a Garrett Wilson can. And it wouldn't shock me, Howard. Would it shock you if we saw 150 targets for Garrett Wilson this year?
It wouldn't shock me at all. And I think, Aaron Rodgers knows that, as much as he likes Alan Lazard is a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. He's not that lead guy. We thought, he could try to be last year, but you saw it late in the season when Christian Watson kind of took over as the deep threat, and Romeo Doubs was, getting some of that underneath work. So, shame for, for Alan Lazard on that front. But yeah, I think that you have to, he knows that if the Jets are going to win, he has to be able to lean on Garrett Wilson. So I do believe that the two of them will have a really nice rapport through camp. And by the time the season starts, and yeah, 150 targets would not surprise me in the least.
So tell me a little bit about Fantasy Alarm. How did it start? It's obviously been around for a while. And talk about your role there.
Okay, so Fantasy Alarm, was actually, it was already in existence before I got there. Before I got here. The idea was started by the fact that, the tagline was never start another injured player again. And it was an alert service to let you know that your guy was in or out of the lineup. And so that's how it started. And then they built off of that and turned into, growing the content and turning into a legitimate site. Really great story here of how I ended up like meeting up with Fantasy Alarm. It was 2010. I was tending bar out over by the ballpark, over by Oracle Park. Well, back then it was AT&T in San Francisco. And the FSTA, the Fantasy Sports Trade Association, had a conference out here in San Francisco, and their big after party from the conference was right there at the place that I was tending bar. So I was the bartender for that. Now, in the meantime, I had already started my own blog called RotoBuzz, and then I turned that into another blog called rotobuzzguy.com. The New Yorker in me. How you doing? I'm RotoBuzz Guy. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
know what I'm saying?
How you doing?
How you doing? So, you throw guy at the end. I know a guy. You know a guy?
Yeah,
RotoBuzz Guy? I know a guy.
I know that fucking guy.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how the moniker started. And I was doing a site called rotobuzzguy.com, and that was just, my thing. And I was freelancing at a couple of other places. I was freelancing I was working for Fangraphs. I was working for RotoWire and doing like a bunch of work for those guys.
You were hustling like a New Yorker.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You got to have the hustle, man. You got to have the hustle. So, I sat there tending bar for this event and meeting everybody who was there, and shout out to Megan Van Patten, who was running the party for the FSTA at that point. She just kept bringing people over to meet me. She was just like, oh my God, Howard, this is Howard. He's, he's in fantasy and he works for RotoWire and he does this and whatever. I walked out of there with a stack of business cards like this thick. Right. And I had met Jeff Manns and Ryan Hallam, both who were at Fantasy Alarm. I met them. They gave me the card. And literally, like, as soon as I got home, I just sent thank you emails for meeting everybody and sent my links to wherever it was. And I ended up picking up as a freelance writer over at Fantasy Alarm, worked for them for about, I'd say 2 years. And then basically I turned around and I said, I'm tired of tending bar. I want a full-time job in this industry. And I said to Fantasy Alarm, to RotoWire, and to Fangraphs, first one who offers me a full-time gig gets me. And Fantasy Alarm jumped into it. I helped head up their news and notes team for a couple of seasons. And I guess the rest is history. How about that? Right now, I don't know, head of content, host the radio show, like the big boss man now.
So you're telling me that you turned slinging vodka into a career in your dream job. You're telling me that, and then you also have to tell me how that turned into your opportunity at SiriusXM.
Well, so all right, so yeah, I mean, it's amazing to be able to flip, slinging drinks and freelancing into a full-time gig was absolutely huge. I had been a guest on the RotoWire show every Wednesday. I was their beat writer covering the Kansas City Royals, and I was their beat writer covering the San Francisco 49ers, and I was also covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, believe it or not. And I was just kind of doing as much as I possibly could. They brought me on the radio show every Wednesday to talk Kansas City Royals baseball throughout the baseball season. And I did that for about a year or two. And then I just started hounding Matt Deutsch, who was the program director for SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. And I said, Matt, you've heard me on the show. I can carry a show. You've heard me as a guest in a bunch of places. Let's try me out. And after some pushing and some prodding and some some equipment purchasing on my account, Because back then, I mean, it wasn't as, as prevalent as it is now. It's like super easy to do a show or a podcast or something like that.
Tell
So
me about it.
back then I needed to actually get
You just
equipment
put
that
up
I
a
could
sign in the
broadcast.
background and they let you talk.
And so that's really how it all kind of it came to fruition. He gave me a show on Sunday nights, and I stayed doing that show on Sunday nights. And then I'd say it was probably like 6 years ago, I ended up moving into the hosting of the main Fantasy Alarm show on Monday through Friday, drive time radio. So yeah, about 6 years I've been doing it that way.
That is a wonderful story. And I had Matt on my own private show, the Run to Daylight show, about a week and a half ago. And he talked about how him pushing was what got him an opportunity back at WFAN in New York back in the day. So I have to think, and wouldn't you agree, that your pushing him probably resonated deep with him. And, now you're also working together over at Better Sports, are you not?
Yes, we are. Absolutely.
Why don't you tell the good people Better Sports is helping us and, our social media, but why don't you talk about what you're doing over at the Better Sports Network?
We're trying to give everybody the best possible programming for fantasy sports, regular sports, and betting content that's available, right? I mean, we've got a number of different shows that cater to a variety of things. There's there's the fantasy football shows that we do, Andrew Cooper, Britt Flynn, myself. We've got MLB DFS shows with John Impemba and James Grande. We're going to have NFL DFS shows, right? We Dan Lust does a whole legal show and gives you that kind of an angle. The guys from Campus to Canton do college football and college sports. So yeah, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build this network up so that it is like your one-stop shop of places to go. You know that no matter what sport you play, no matter whether it's betting or DFS or just regular season-long fantasy, that we've got everything that you could possibly need. And so Better Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm unifying together to make it happen. And yes, we will not forget on the Better Sports Network, the sharpest show of them all, the Sharp Angles podcast right here.
Amen. All right. Well, that is a tremendous story. I'm really glad I got a chance to discuss it with you. And I think it's about time we try and win $3 million. So I am going to share my screen. And unfortunately, you're probably going to see a little bit of something before I get there. All right. I will not be able to see other things other than this board, the way that the setup is. But you will see once I do it. All right. Well, we're waiting for another 9 people. So I am going to unhide my screen for a second. And I will let everyone know when we get there. So if someone's watching and you want to get in, there are a few openings still, and then Howard and I are going to draft. So
should I jump in and we do a separate team?
No. Do you want to do that?
No, man. Listen, I'm game for anything. I've got plenty of entries in the Best Ball Mania. I'd love to pair. I'll tell you what. Let's continue the pairing here. Let's talk a little strategy. How about that? Like,
that's a great idea.
Working with a partner is always tough sometimes. So, let's what's your typical strategy coming into, doing a best ball draft? Do you have a certain strategy that you like to employ?
Yeah. So once we get in there, you're going to see I use the overlay from Spike Week. So you're going to see all your correlations for week 17. You're going to see your stacking options. You're going to see, as far as players go, I mean, we can do that. The one thing what I do is, so whatever draft pick I get, what I do is I go through and I fill the queue with enough people that I like to get me to that spot. There's nothing worse than being on the clock and not knowing who you even want. And then it becomes a matter of typically, 3 or 4 people on the board, and we'll be able to discuss options. I'm very flexible. I'll probably do about 600-700 best ball drafts this year. So I'm pretty good at mixing my strategies, taking what the board gives me. How about you? What do you tend to like to do?
Usually what
I
like to...
I got to share. So we got the number 2 pick, and we
we're
are
already
live.
there. We're already full. Let's do it, baby.
All right. Tell me if you can see everything.
Not yet. Now I can see it.
Okay, you can see it.
Yep.
And is it big enough that you can see the board?
It could stand to be a little bit bigger for me.
All right, hold on.
Super
I can do
old.
This. I can relate to old. Did that help?
That helps. That's perfect. I can read it all right now.
All right, good. So with the number 2 pick, I am okay with whichever one of Jefferson or Chase falls. But if you have another name that you'd be interested at number 2, I would be interested in hearing it.
Well, actually, the funny thing is I'm going against the grain this year. Chase is my number 1. Jefferson is my number 2. I always
that's an easy decision. Chase made it to us. I will take him, and then what I'll do, you'll see what I do now is I start filling in the queue until I get very close to. And when I'm so close to the corner, a lot of times I like to try and have enough names to get us to. All right, so we need 20 names, and then out of the people who did not get stars, who do you like the most out of what's not in the queue so far?
Who do I like most who's not in the queue so far? I'm a big Ramondre Stevenson fan.
I am too. Like him. We'll add him.
I like him a lot. I do like T. Higgins. I mean, I think that, if you are a stacker, then you can take a look at, because by the time it comes back to us, in the second and third round, that's almost a little bit of a sweet spot to take Joe Burrow, and then could possibly get T. Higgins in the third if you are into stacking like that.
Yeah, I've done it both ways. I'll also throw Mark Andrews in.
Yeah.
And I will even throw Josh Allen in, because he's been falling. And I think, he played through an injury later to his elbow, and he's my quarterback number 1. So I will throw him in the queue, and then we'll wait to see who gets there. So tell me a little bit about why you like Jamar Chase more than Justin Jefferson.
It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Minnesota, right? Adam Thielen's gone. Jordan Addison steps in. We don't know really. I mean, how strong is Addison going to be in the NFL game? We've seen guys who have been phenomenal in college and then come to the pro game and just don't, deliver what they're supposed to. So, it's a matter of Burrow versus Cousins. It's a matter of the supporting cast around. Like most coverage now, they throw their top corner onto T. Higgins, and then they try to double team Jamar Chase, and they just don't have the personnel that is able to keep that going. So, when a guy throws down a season like Jefferson did last year, everybody's keying in on him. So I like the guy who's still on his way up, and that's Jamar Chase for me.
Yeah, and I think Jamar Chase is more likely to give you the must-have week in the playoffs. And I the only reason I'll take Jefferson at 1 is because I sometimes get Chase at 3 and 4, and I'm pretty convinced that the difference between the two is not nearly the difference that will happen if one of them gets injured. So I like them both, and I like having about the same of both. So I tend to take JJ at 1 simply because I get less chances at him, more than I think he is going to be better than Jamar Chase.
Makes sense.
All
Definitely
right.
makes sense.
So we see that, there's nobody really falling. We're still, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away. So Pollard, Olav, Devont. Yeah. Now, how do you feel about Jonathan Taylor? He's been falling a lot because of the bad news. Are you off him completely, or is he a guy? Well, no, he's still there. Or is he a guy that you still have interest in?
I still have interest in JT. I think that everybody is so nervous that you're starting to get him out of value. He went from being like a back end of the first round, early second round pick this year, to now all of a sudden. I just did a best ball earlier today, and he dropped into the early fourth round. So I'm fine with him. I have no problem taking Jonathan Taylor. Oh, it looks like somebody just did take Jonathan
Yeah.
Taylor.
And Higgins is gone. To me, this is a no-brainer. Olave does not fall this far anymore. Are you okay taking Olave?
100%, man. 100%.
All right. So now we've got two fantastic guys, and we'll wait to see. But to me, it's pretty obvious. You mentioned a guy's name who you liked a lot, and if he makes it, it's a no-brainer to me. And he did. I am very, very interested in Ramondre here.
Yeah, I think it's a great pick. I think, he's in a great situation here. Not much behind him in that backfield. It's been a really long time since the New England Patriots have had themselves a bell cow back, and I love the fact that Bill O'Brien is back because he loves to use that run to set up the pass. And he's going to pound the rock with Ramondre Stevenson for sure.
All right. So to get to Joe Burrow gives us 20 in the queue. We're 18 picks away. So we've got a chance of Burrow falling. I like Justin Fields too. You'll notice the correlations, right? Now, hold on. They didn't show up. I'm going to refresh the screen and you'll see what I'm talking about. So, there it is. All right. So we really... Okay, yeah. There's no real Josh Allen is a correlation with Ramondre. You see that? How it's green?
Yep.
That and if it's blue, it means it's a correlation with one of our quarterbacks. So back to guys that aren't in the queue. Is there any? We need a couple more names. Who do you like that is not in the queue so far?
All right. Looking at those names right now. I don't like how bad. I don't like the running backs. I don't mind some TJ Hawkinson. I don't mind Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker will be fine. Aaron Jones. I just missed Aaron Jones. I'm sorry, my bad.
And then look at Godwin. So you see, I will put Godwin in for the second pick because he has that correlation with Chris Olave week 17. And as I do a lot of teams, I like building my week 17 correlations as a tiebreaker. I won't take a guy that I don't like, but so I will throw Godwin in. If we miss him, there's not much chance that Evans comes back. But that is something that, again, I like to use as a tiebreaker. Your thoughts on week 17 correlating in the Best Ball Mania tournament? Is it something that you like to do? Do it by accident? Do it on purpose? What are your thoughts?
It's it's something that I kind of, I keep in the back of my mind, right? Because once week 17 happens, that there are so many dead teams out there. So yeah, you look at a guy like Godwin, who the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we don't expect them to be doing anything playoff wise. So, but they're still going to play their guys. They're not going to sit everybody. You worry about the playoff teams doing that. So to find a nice week 17 correlation that kind of favors your end there, I think that it's a good solid spot to be in.
Yeah, I like Godwin. I mean, he had 100 catches coming off a late season ACL. Yes, Tom Brady is gone, but Tom Brady wasn't the Tom Brady that we all knew and sometimes despised during his better years. I don't think it's as much of a downgraded quarterback as people are making it out to be. Second year coming off injury, I'm willing to take a shot on Mr. Godwin because they throw it to him short and medium. and it's he's gonna catch a lot of passes.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, because with the way the offensive line is for Tampa Bay right now, they need to have that quick release. Baker needs to do a 2-step drop, 3-step drop, and just get it out. And that favors Godwin working out of the slot much more than it favors Mike Evans, where you need time for that, that route to develop. So yeah, I think I don't mind Godwin at all, especially in a PPR format when he's just going to get peppered with targets in short range.
All right, so someone took the guy who took Higgins early did take Joe Burrow. I am pretty neutral. I like Christian Watson. I like Drake London. I'm not so crazy about Mike Williams or DJ Moore here. And I prefer another wide receiver over a running back. But if you want Walker or Jones, I have no problem. You got to tell me quick, though.
I like Drake London, baby. I think number one wide receiver in that system. They're going to do a run-heavy scheme, but they are going to have to throw the ball. And that's just that, unless they expect that Bijan is going to run through a stacked box on the regular, they're going to need to pass the ball. You only have Drake London and Kyle Pitts there, so London's my guy.
All right, so if DJ Moore makes it, I like him because of the Atlanta correlation that we just did.
Okay.
If he doesn't make it, Aaron Jones, Walker, or Godwin, I'm good with any of them. Your thoughts on DJ Moore? Do you agree? Or
I like him. If Justin Fields is going to pass the ball the way he's supposed to pass the ball, like get that improvement there, then I think DJ Moore is in a great spot. There's nobody else really there. I mean, Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, nah.
And there really seems to be a great connection. I think Fields is a better passer than he's given credit for. I think the field is underestimating just how much they improved that team. I think there's a chance that DJ Moore surprises. And so that leaves us with one running back, 4 wide receivers. We've got the correlation with, and here's something. We're not going to see it because here, let me just lower the resolution here for a second. This is another thing that I like looking at is the playoff view. Still not going to be able to see it. All right. So I've filled the queue back up, 18 in the queue, 17 picks away. Again, there might be guys in here we don't like, though. So Gabe Davis, do you like Gabe Davis?
I do not.
Okay,
I do not like Gabe Davis at all. He is.
I like Dotson. Do you like Dotson?
I like Dotson a lot. Yes,
I like
Montgomery. Pickens too. Oh, Montgomery. I think Montgomery's going to be a good play this year.
Yeah. We've got Rachaad White. We didn't get Godwin, but Rachaad White with New Orleans is here. I like James Cook. That might be a little early.
Yeah. I love James Cook this year.
All right, good. So we'll add him because I want to come out of one of the next 2 picks with a running back.
Okay.
And
big fan of Miles Sanders. He's in our queue. Big fan of him.
Okay.
And he's going to be a bell cow back. They're going to have to rely on him.
I love Dameon Pierce.
Cool.
I think that he had some really big metrics. Other than Nick, he as far as breaking tackles, he was right behind Nick Chubb in that. They've improved that offensive line. They brought over, what's his name, the guard. I can't think of his name.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah, and I think Stroud is an upgrade at quarterback. They've upgraded their wide receivers. I am very high.
Are you worried about Singletary? Are you worried about Singletary at all?
Not too much, no. I think Singletary is going to replace Sexy Rexy. I think he'll be the change of pace guy and the third down guy.
Shaq Mason, that's the guard you were thinking of.
Shaq Mason, there you go.
Yep.
All right, let's see who makes it. But I like our team so far, Howard.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, look at that receiving core. That receiving core in a best ball format. Come on. I mean, but if 2 of them pop off each week, I mean, how psyched is that?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a Kyle Pitts. Actually, I would. I'm going to take Pitts out. I don't like taking London and Pitts together. Mm-hmm. I think I would rather take separate shots on them.
I think you can wait on the tight end position. I think there are a lot of players who are just being very underrated. I like Dalton Schultz with Houston right now. I think that's going to be a really nice play as far as the tight end goes. I'm perfectly happy waiting on tight end and not pushing it too much. Although Darren Waller, I really like Darren Waller this year with Daniel Jones.
So do
really
I. So I'm going to add him to the queue. And I also think that there is, in this format, I think that you can wait on tight end and take 3 of them. And there's a lot of late tight ends I like this year, Howard.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I mean, Waller is a good, solid guy, but I think the upside on Sam Laporta with Jameson Williams being suspended for the first 6 weeks, I think that's a nice play. I'm also kind of eyeballing what's going on in Washington, whether it's Logan Thomas or it's going to be Cole Turner, because Eric Bieniemy's bringing over that Chiefs offense. All he knows is throwing to the tight end, right? So maybe that kind of sprinkles in a little bit.
I like that. I have not thought of that. I like that. I think Logan Thomas is an underrated guy, but there's so many guys I like late. I like Isaiah Likely. I like Jelani Woods. I like Jake Ferguson. I like Mayer now that he's in the last round. There's just a lot of late tight ends who have upside. So I'm not. You mentioned Jordan Addison. I am not a Jordan Addison guy. I am taking him out of the queue. He just went as I was trying to take him out. I'm taking Trevor Lawrence out because we don't need a non-correlated quarterback. At this point, I don't think it's not enough of a deal for me. So if Dobbins and Montgomery are there, do you have a preference?
I've got Montgomery over Dobbins for me. That's really fine. Do worry about the running game in Baltimore in that, in Todd Monken's offense. I really do. Oh, and he's gone anyway.
Yep. All right, Montgomery.
Happy accident. Let's do it.
All right. So I'm going to put Waller to the top. And is there anyone else? I like Jahan Dotson.
Yep. Brandon Cooks with Dallas. I really kind of like him as well.
And we have a Detroit player now. I think that would be how about if we don't get Waller, we go Cooks? We got Waller. Let's take Waller.
Yeah, I would prefer Waller then. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah, correlation is good, but getting a stud tight end, it opens up Daniel Jones for us for the next round.
I was just going to say, that would be great if we paired him up. Sure.
And what you'll see, when I focus on quarterbacks, you see anything in green is a guy that we have correlated with somebody already. Woods, Pacheco. I'm not on Tony. Do you mind if I pass
good.
that?
Me neither.
I'll add Kamara. I'm not going to put Tua in. I'll put Bateman in. I don't want Dalvin Cook, Sky Moore, Michael Thomas, no Evan Ingram. I'll put Sutton in. I don't love him.
Oh, why don't you love Sutton?
I think he's kind of a slug.
Really? I gotta tell you, I'm gonna try and change your mind right now. Cortland
Go
Sutton,
for it. We've got about a minute.
Cortland Sutton is the ex-receiver in a Joe Lombardi offense now. Tim Patrick is gone for the rest of the season with the Achilles injury. Cortland Sutton is locked in. If you look at what Joe Lombardi's system does for the ex-receiver, it forces targets their way. Think Marquez Colston, Michael Thomas. Look at the bump in targets that Mike Williams saw over the last 2 seasons for the Chargers with Lombardi as his guy. Jerry Jeudy will play that same slot role that Keenan Allen played. And you could see what they did back in New Orleans there where Lance Moore was that guy. Good touchdown count for them, but not really as many receptions or yards. So I see Cortland Sutton this year. I think people are sleeping on him way too much. as the X receiver. Oh, see, look, the better boss even throws a comment in there. He's on Team Sutton. I love me some Team Sutton.
Yeah, I can't see the comments because of the way I wanted to do this so I could get the overlay. So you feel free to bring up whoever you see. We've got a few. We're still about 12 picks away, so it's going to be interesting who makes it back to us. I think Daniel Jones should be there for our second pick, and that opens up. I like Sky Moore a lot.
Okay.
We've got someone from Cincinnati. I think Sky Moore is going to lead the wide receivers in receptions. He is going to take that Juju Smith-Schuster role. And I could see him getting 80, 90 catches. I don't know how explosive he'll be with them, but I think he's going to lead that wide receiver core in catches pretty handily. Right now, Valdez-Scantling, and Justin Watson are the three starters. MVS, we know what he is. And, Justin Watson, I think we also know what he's not. And so to me, it's Sky Moore, and then I think Justin Ross and Richie James have an opportunity to work their way in and are good picks late.
Just a bunch of interchangeable cogs running these underneath routes. Don't sleep on Rashee Rice, the rookie out of SMU they took. I think Rashee Rice is going to be able to stretch the field nicely. We might even see Mahomes start throwing deep again.
Yeah. I think that they've been playing the two safeties against them, and he's been taking what he can get. But that he can do it if he gets the opportunity.
Very nice. So where are we going with our next pick? What are we looking at?
I mean, let's see who makes it. What's your thoughts on Kamara now that we know there's a 3-game suspension? I think if Rachaad White somehow makes it, he's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the volume play for us right there. He's just going to get carry after carry. Dave Canales, the new OC, he spent 13 years working with Pete Carroll. Those dudes know how to run.
You can see my ownership over here. So you see I have 17% Sky Moore in this tournament, 18% overall. So I don't mind if you wanted to take Sutton over him if we don't get the running back. I love Rashad Penny, by the way.
Somebody just took Sutton. Look at that. Somebody just took Sutton from us.
What are your thoughts on Penny?
I think Penny's fine. I think we're going to see a lot of movement back and forth between Penny and Swift. They're both very similar players, very similar skill sets. And they're both really injury prone.
Now, if White's gone, Deshaun Watson there goes White. So Deshaun Watson's interesting. Njoku's still on the board. Donovan Peoples-Jones is still on the board. He's normally gone by pick 84. It's a 10-pick value. Deshaun Watson, Kamara, Sky Moore, Rashad Penny. I'm okay with any of those four. Tell me who you want of them.
Out of that group, because we want to go Daniel Jones, so let's go Sky Moore here.
That works for me. The sky's the limit. Dad joke. The limit.
But I think we should move on Daniel Jones with this next pick.
Yeah,
otherwise, somebody's going to scoop him.
We can't count on him making it back. I agree. Although to take him over Deshaun Watson seems. All right. Do you want to take Watson?
Go for it.
I think Watson is just too good. I'm willing to take a chance that he, stacking is important, but also just, Watson could get there without one of his weapons if it just works out that way. I mean, Daniel Jones, it's just hard for me to take Daniel Jones over Deshaun Watson, Howard.
I understand that. I actually, it's so funny. I just said I was doing a best ball draft just before, and I was picking on the wheel, and I waited until probably like the 9th or 10th round to go for quarterbacks. and I just double tapped the position and took both Deshaun Watson and Daniel Jones.
Yeah,
and I feel great about that.
I absolutely am fine with that. Where did Njoku go? Is he gone already?
I thought I saw you put him in the queue. Yeah, he's in our queue.
Yeah, he probably won't make it back to us, but let's see.
Don't be such a pessimist.
You never know. Well, we're 16 picks away, and he's 5th in the queue. It's less pessimism than odds, but
now would you be interested in Elijah Moore since we've got Deshaun Watson?
If Elijah Moore, he's already gone.
Is he gone already?
I love Elijah Moore this year. He's gone. You can see I've got a pretty good amount of them. Mostly when he was cheaper. So, what do you think about Zach Charbonnet being out indefinitely and then being back 3 days later?
I love that, actually. Listen, I think it's it's perfectly fine. I think that they were being a little bit on the cautious side with the prognosis. We'll see what happens with him. I'm not gonna.
Pete Carroll's just full of what when it comes to giving out.
Yeah, right. The only guy who lies lies slightly less than Belichick, but maybe a little more than Kyle Shanahan.
And it's got to be frustrating. I loved when the Jets hired him as head coach after Bruce Coslet. He just wasn't ready, but he had shown a lot of the qualities as a defensive coordinator for the Jets that turned into what he showed at both USC and Seattle.
I was very upset about the firing. We fired him because he went like 0-6 with his last 6 games or 0-5 with his last 5. And then they turned around and they hired Richie Kotite, who went like 0-8 with his last 8 games with a better Eagles team. Like, how in the world did we make that move? To think that Pete Carroll could have been our coach that whole time?
That was the last screw over by Leon Hess. That was 100% Leon Hess decision.
Good old Jets. They won the Super Bowl the year before I was born.
I remember I rooted for them. I saw that game live. It was the first Super Bowl that I saw live. I don't remember the Super Bowl from the year before. But I definitely do. I watched that whole game. Matt Snell, 113 yards, I think it was.
Yep.
And 4 interceptions.
Wow, the good old days. Old days.
I actually met Mark Gastineau once at a luggage store, and he swore we had played football together. And I was 20 years younger. I was pretty built, but I had never played football, and I immediately told him, no, that's impossible because I didn't play football. And he wouldn't let it go. He said, no, dude, I know I played football against you. And I mean, how do you not take that as a compliment?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The sack exchange was so good back then.
I love Devin A-Chain. If we could get him here.
Oh, I like him too. Definitely. I do not like Khalil Herbert. I will just say it right from the jump.
All right. I am happy to take him out. Damian Harris is a good choice as well.
Yeah. I actually like Jamal Williams too.
That I don't like, but especially now with a 3-game suspension. He was running behind the best offensive line in football. Oh, A-Chain made it. I think that's a no-brainer.
Do it up. Let's get him.
All right. So now we've got a 1-3-5-1 build. We're really able to take whatever we like. I like Dulcich a lot. I don't mind Kincaid. I really like Tank Bigsby. He's been moving up the board. I like Rondell Moore. I like Jacoby Myers. Who do you like here?
With this next pick?
Yep.
You know what, man? I really do like Dulcich as well. I think he's going to be. Did he just go?
He
just went right in
he
front of
just
us.
went.
Son of a
Yep.
bitch. Damn.
I
What do you want? You want a running back or you want a wide receiver?
I like Harris, Bigsby, Zay Jones,
Bigsby. Do Bigsby. I like Bigsby.
I love Bigsby. So yeah, that's a
Do
good
it.
one.
So I just spoke to I did an interview with Mike Dempsey from Football Diehards.
Yep, absolutely.
He's also
he's the Jaguar guy.
He's the Jaguar guy. And so he's basically spent every day in camp. And when I asked him what what his impression of the ground game was going to be, everything he started talking about, like what he thought the distribution would be. And I turned to him and I was like, Mike, it really kind of sounds like you're describing Fred Taylor and Stacey Mack right now.
Oh, wow.
And he said, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
So, I remember you like Dalton Schultz.
Yep. So yeah, I think Bigsby's going to get a lot of goal line work, a lot of short yardage situations. Yeah, was it ETN had 5 touchdowns last year? Only one of them came inside the green zone.
Yeah, ETN doesn't phone home.
You know, that's the only movie that still to this day makes me sob like a 6-year-old. It's unbelievable when he's lying there.
I cry at romantic comedies. I'm just a big pussy. So, you know, I cry. I cried the other day watching Rudy again.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll get emotional at a number of movies, but for some reason, like I get triggered. I mean, when E.T., when I saw that in the theaters, I mean, I was just a hot mess. He's like, at the end when he's lying there face down, all pasty white in the riverbed, and they're all looking for him. I mean, I was dying when that happened. So
I grew up, and the first thing I ever cried about was, do you remember Brian's song?
Oh, who didn't cry at Brian's song?
Oh my gosh. Poor James Caan. First he gets killed as Sonny, and then he's Brian Piccolo.
Right. What was it? Brian's song, Old Yeller, and E.T. Just a horrible trio.
It's a triumvirate of tears.
Oh man. All right. So where are we going now? All right. So just so you know, let's see. Mike Dempsey was also very high on Zay Jones. I like Jacoby Myers as well.
I love Zay Jones. If somehow he makes it back, he's a no-brainer. I like Jacoby Myers too.
Yeah, I think Myers is going to be that leaned on guy. I mean, Devontae Adams, but if you're looking to move the chains, I think it's Myers more than it's Renfro.
And if you want to play advanced chess a little bit, I think Myers has even a bigger upside if Adams somehow tries to force his way out sometime during this year.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Very, very true.
All right, so as far as tight ends go, I like some of these guys, but I prefer not to take them. I'd like to get a correlation with Deshaun Watson. I think Conklin is in for a decent year. He could fill that role for us. And the second, I really think we should reach a little bit with our second pick here for DPJ so that we at least get Watson one of his receivers.
Get him paired up with somebody. Okay.
I would not mind going quarterback. I wouldn't mind going Carr to go with Olave and then come back with DPJ.
Let's do it.
I wouldn't mind losing value, a little bit of value to make this team. I'm not a big David Carr. I'm not a big Derek Carr guy overall, but I mean, when you have Olave to mix him in is not a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, if it fits the team, then it fits the team. So yeah, I mean, if we go Carr and we go DPJ next, then we've got both quarterbacks paired up nicely, and
you'll see how this fills it. You see how Chicago is in green. That means that we've got, not that I care too much about week 15, but it is nice to, you can only keep so many things in your head when you're drafting. It looks like Stephen M. Schroeder might be on auto draft. All right, Derek Carr, no brains. And you'll see how when he comes up, he'll turn blue.
Yep.
And we never did get a Tampa Bay Buck, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think listen, if you don't give it, if it's either Godwin, Evans, or Rachaad White, I don't want a single Buccaneer beyond those guys anyway.
I think Otten is sneaky in the last round.
Maybe. But like the three,
you don't believe in the Otten Empire?
I do not believe in the Otten Empire.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll tell you what I like about Dalton Schultz, just so you know, is that they don't have a number one wide receiver, right? And that's, to me, that gives him the possibility of being one of the most targeted pass catchers in that offense. We already know that rookie QBs love to lean on their tight ends. So if there's no clear-cut number one in that offense, and they want to lean on Schultz to, in this little West Coast style offense that Tim Kelly wants to run here, I feel like Schultz is a guy who should see a significant number of targets and red zone looks as well.
Yeah, I've come around on him lately, so I have no issue with that.
And he's gone. And he's gone anyway. Oh, I like Juwan Johnson. If you want to super stack those Saints,
feel free. Anybody you want in, I am willing to consider. I'm really come around on Jalen Hyatt. Well,
I love Jalen Hyatt.
You could see I loved his tape, and you can see I had a lot, and then I backed off a little, and now I'm back on. Now that he's doing so good at camp.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he that he kind of doesn't climb up the ADP charts too high. Because I've been taking him a lot in like the late rounds. Like those late rounds, I've been grabbing a lot of Jalen Hyatt, Rashee Rice, and Jonathan Mingo. I think those three rookie wide receivers, like when you're taking them that late, you just need, one of them to pop, and then you can dump the other guys if you don't want them,
I really like the other New Orleans Saint, Rashid Shaheed. He is an explosive guy. You can see I've got 14% of him. He's a guy I would seriously consider if he makes it back. My most owned player is I've been really good at running back evaluations. Tajay Spears is I never have this much ownership on a guy. I am super high on him. I've also been drafting a lot of Zamir White lately. Mm-hmm. We do need that fifth running back sooner rather than later because after this tier, they're pretty much gone. So I think we've got four that I really like, but you can go 5 or 6, and I think we should definitely consider a running back with one of these two picks.
Sure. What do you think of Kenneth Gainwell?
I was on him. He was one of my most owned guys, but then, getting Swift and they the same position. I don't mind him though. So I'm open to him. I've got enough Spears that I don't need another share if you like someone else.
Right. I mean, Zamir White makes sense because if Jacobs doesn't get into camp until late, or even if Jacobs holds out for like the first week or so, like Zamir White is in a spot where I think that he can take advantage of some extra reps while Jacobs is out. So I would say I prefer White over Spears. I mean, Spears is solid. He's a great running back, but You need the Derrick Henry injury to make that happen. I don't think you need the injury to make Zamir White get some extra work.
I'll disagree with that. I think Spears is going to be on the field more than people think. But again, like I said, I've got enough of them. But what we could use as a tiebreaker here is the fact that if Shaheed's still here, we could take Shaheed and then see which one of them makes it back to us.
Deal. That works for me. This draft is flying. I love this.
All right, so we got Shaheed. And what I love is that we're getting a lot of the guys that we want. That always is a good feeling. So it'll be interesting. Ford is a correlation with Watson. He's probably the third down back, but I'm okay with any of Ford, Spears, or White. I'm going to let you make this call.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see who shows up for us here. Bum 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 bum.
Do you miss bartending?
No, not really. I mean, I did like I did a guest bartending gig out here a little bit afterwards. My wife and I used to own a live music venue out here in San Francisco.
Nice.
So, she ran the whole thing and she ran the day-to-day. But, there were the occasional times where she needed somebody. Oh, look, we got our pick of the litter here, baby. Pick of the litter.
Tell me who you want. 182. There's a chance White makes it back. Who do you want, though?
I take Ford. We got the correlation.
We can take a sixth running back here, and then we need another tight end, 7 and 8. I think we need 7 and 8, 15, 16, 17, 18. We got really good. I normally like 8 wide receivers, but we got 7 really good ones. So I wouldn't mind going running back, tight end to finish. Oh, we got Waller. So we really only need 2 tight ends with this build. I think Conklin and White make the most sense if we can get them. Let's see who makes it, though.
Yeah, I would prefer Conklin over Knox. I think Knox is going to spend a lot of time tethered to the line this year.
Yeah, I like the Conk Daddy. And if Hyatt makes it, I'm going to have a hard time passing on him. There's so many good late choices. Hurst, McBride, Likely, Ferguson, Michael Mayer, Hunter Henry, Luke Musgrave, Jelani Wood. So
what happened to Gesicki? Is Gesicki still there? Is he gone?
He's still there too. Yeah, I missed him.
I like Gesicki a lot. I definitely do.
I have a nice amount of Gesicki.
Yeah, every time Bill Belichick gets asked a question about Mike Gesicki, he constantly refers to him as a big wide receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you look at before last year, other than the top few tight ends, he had the most 20-point weeks. He'll disappear on you, and then he'll pop for 20. And that's what you want in best ball.
Yeah, you want that high ceiling. You want that high ceiling, especially if you've got other guys in the area.
I don't think we need a 6th running back on this team.
Yeah, I don't either.
But is there any names here that you like?
That
will get in the queue?
No.
Okay. That's fine. All right. So wide receiver, we got him. I don't mind Paris Campbell. I don't mind Slayton. I like Josh Downs.
Josh Downs is an intriguing name.
I like Tank Dell. I like Puka, whatever. I think Corey Davis, if we don't get Conk Daddy, is that week 17. I like Michael Wilson. I love the way the draft board Cedric Tillman goes with Watson in case there's injuries. He'll be low owned. Lot of options at wide receiver, and I think we definitely need a tight end.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we definitely need a tight end. Do we have what's Waller's bye week is 13, so
Conklin's gone.
Conklin is gone.
And there goes Jalen Hyatt. So 13, that takes Meyer off the board and likely, unless we take them as a.
I like Hayden Hurst over in Carolina. I think he's in a really nice spot.
I got no problem with that. I like Jake Ferguson a lot. I love Jelani Woods, but I'm going to let you pick. You can pick which tight end you want.
All right, I'll say Hayden Hurst if he's there for us. I'd go with him. If he's not, then I would defer to probably Jake Ferguson. There's he's probably he's got the chance of being the lead tight end over there.
Yeah.
They certainly aren't going to give it to Peyton Hendershot, and Luke Schoonmaker or whatever his name is has not done anything.
Well, this guy is auto drafting, so we could lose. No, we're not going to lose Hurst to him. Dun, dun, all right, we got Hurst.
Ba-boom!
And I think we can go wide receiver next.
Okay.
And if we don't get, and then Otten becomes that correlation that we talked about. I think Corey Davis is interesting because of the correlation with Watson, but I'm open to any of these wide receivers, but I think Corey Davis fits this build the most.
Yeah, probably.
And that's where it should be a tiebreaker, right? I mean, this late ADP of a round really doesn't matter much. I'm willing to get my correlations. And Corey Davis had the background to be good. Are you okay with taking him here?
Of course.
All right. So tight end. Now that puts likely since we got another bye week, it puts Mayer and Likely back on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a quarterback that we could look at? We only have Mac Jones. So none of the quarterbacks make sense as the third quarterback. Carr's a little weak for me as the second quarterback. I would have considered one. I'm also okay with do you like Deneric Prince?
I mean, it's okay. I'm not really sure what kind of workload he's going to see. But
yeah,
maybe late in the season.
He's one of those guys that you hope he's like Pacheco was last year. One of those guys that you hope has a role late.
Right.
But right now he seems to be a lot of the third down stuff. So if McKinnon goes down, he'll take that role.
Okay.
But I am okay with just the 5 that we have. So I will take him out.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I love I think Josh Downs is a very intriguing option working out of the slot. And I also think Michael Wilson is a little on the underrated side too.
I've been taking some Wilson lately. I'll also throw this one out if we want the correlation. Russell Gage. Yeah. But I think there'll be other guys we like more.
It's quite possible. Well, this has been fun, Todd. Thanks so much for having me on, man. It's been a great time for me.
I'm glad you liked it. I've really enjoyed getting to meet you and, hearing your story. And we were pretty compatible drafting this team. I know a lot of people have trouble doing, teams together, but I do so many that except in extreme cases, I'm willing to defer.
Right. Yeah, I'm of that mindset too, usually as well.
Yep, you are.
Got so many.
You were very pleasant
teams
to work with.
You have to be flexible. You can't. My guy. It doesn't work that way.
One thing age should teach you, it doesn't always, but one thing it's taught me is some humility. I've been wrong way too many times to fight over much.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
I think Cedric Tillman is a really interesting choice here.
Yeah, I think Tillman, because we get that that back end, that real low owned Cleveland part of the stack. Everybody's in on Cooper and everybody's in on Moore. To have DPJ and Tillman as the possibilities, it's very intriguing.
I also wouldn't mind Ferguson if he makes it, or Jelani. I'm going to let you pick. I think anyone in this queue is worthy, and I'm going to let you make the call, Howard, on our last pick.
All right, decisions. Dun 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 dun. Well, I got to tell you, first guy, I just putting it together. I like the idea of having Tillman in there and watching Cleveland get a little explosive for us. Yep. I just think that Tillman's got a higher ceiling than like a Jake Ferguson or a Jelani Woods.
A lot of the draft analysts like Tillman more than Jalen Hyatt. They both played for Tennessee. If you saw this on the radio, I'm sorry. For our radio podcast, I do recommend you go over to the Sharp Football page and on YouTube and watch the draft so you can see how Howard and I built this. I want to thank Howard. And, Howard, I really enjoyed this, and I'm really glad that you volunteered to come on.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, man. Thank you so much for having me. This was great. I don't get to like partner up and draft on a show very often. So this is a good time. Now we just need to win this thing.
I will take a win. I will be happy to split $3 million with you. Boom. So, if God and country allow it, I think it'll be a great thing. The better boss, Matt Deutsch, he's on Team Sutton. That came through in the comments. And this Tuesday, I will have Ryan McChrystal back on of Sharp Football. He and I will be going through the rookies for the second time. Now that we have a lot more camp news, we'll be going through the different rookies and the Howard and I just covered some of the kind of low end guys like Jalen Hyatt. We talked about Josh Downs. We talked about Wilson. I'm sure that Ryan on Tuesday is going to have a lot of those things. Check out Howard on SiriusXM at Fantasy Alarm. Check me out on Run to Daylight. And as mentioned, on every Tuesday, the Sharp Football Show. 1 month to go, guys. Good luck to you. I hope this helped you with your own drafting, and we will see you next time.